Parents should be role models. Just because I dunk a basketball doesn't mean I should raise your kids.
Unless you've been living under a rock for the last 2 or 3 years, you know who this gentleman is. One of the best baseball players in the world for sure, if not the best, and a national treasure to Japan. Having that kind of status carries with it the fact that you're a natural role model. If you asked 100% of the young kids who play baseball in this country, who do you want to be when you grow up? 75% of them are going to point to this gentleman. And he understands he is carrying a burden, if you will, a duty. And he understands also that carrying that duty and being a baseball player and giving his best to his craft is what his job is. He relishes in it because he knows at this point he's chasing a ghost. And the ghost he's chasing is a hell of a ghost. In Japan, being a role model is something that is not taken lightly. And as you can see in this exchange between Ohtani Shohei and Ichiro, although they're jovial at the beginning, you can see that Shohei has a very deep level of respect to the great Ichiro Suzuki. And he understands that he is now assuming the mantle of being the premier baseball role model for hundreds of thousands of young Japanese boys who are aiming to be professional baseball players. Of course, America is different, as can be seen in this 1993 Nike commercial.
I am not a role model. I'm not paid to be a role model. I am paid to wreak havoc on the basketball court. Parents should be role models. Just because I dunk a basketball doesn't mean I should raise your kids.
When this commercial came out, it got a lot of ridicule on one side and it got a lot of adulation on the other. On the adulation side, there are plenty of people who said that's absolutely right. Sports stars should be who they are, and parents have the responsibility to raise their children and control the influences on their children's lives. And then you had the other camp who said, well, these people are making millions of dollars, they're in front of the cameras, it's their duty to act in a certain way. And in a way, both of them are right, which makes what LeBron James has done so incredibly respectable. Coming from a single mother home and doing this as a teenager in the natural spotlight, LeBron navigated his career without making one of the two faux pas or mistakes that quote unquote give you street cred. No criminal charges, no children out of wedlock. Because Black American culture is a very special culture, it has a very unique pathology, or the term tangle of pathology used by a writer named Clark in a book called Dark Ghetto. Now, I am not well versed on the book, but in this link here, you can hear an actual college professor who has done a series of lectures, if you will, video podcasts on this very book. But in our culture, there's a greatest sin that just cannot be absolved. And Michael B. Jordan has committed it. Will Smith certainly has committed it. And Russell Wilson is the poster child for it. And that sin is being lame. Not committing crimes, not having children out of wedlock, and being someone that is above the street. If the Black community were well functioning and promoting upward mobility for all of its young people, we would have posters of people like Neil deGrasse Tyson on the wall, and kids would run to the television set when Cosmos came on because their favorite astrophysicist was going to be on television. Or they'd have posters of Robert Smith, a Black billionaire who's vowed to pay off all the college loans for all the students at Morehouse. These are the kind of leaders that we would have if the Black community were functioning a lot like you see with Ichiro and Shohei Ohtani as role models. Unfortunately, the Black community doesn't work that way. And for 50 Cent to achieve wild success, he had to do something street-worthy and get his street cred in nearly losing his life to incident with some other people that he was having, squabbles with. Or you have to be someone like Jay-Z, who had to do some pharmaceutical deliveries, if you will, to get the street cred to be able to sell the amount of records that would allow him to get a foothold into being a billionaire. And of course you have the poster child, which is Future, who is quote unquote the best rapper alive, I guess. And he's spitting children out all over the place. And you have to commit one of the two. You got to have a criminal offense, or you got to have some kids out of wedlock. And you get some of those notches under your belt, and you get the street cred, and that's what gives you the traction to get the eye of the black community, to get the respect. And once you get that respect, you can parlay that into greater success in the eyes of the black community. Otherwise, you're just going to be a successful lame. Enter Ja Morant, a player that I'm very, very high on. I like Ja Morant a lot. Very athletic, very fast. And he doesn't fit into the traditional tropes. He grew up with his father, grew up in a stable household. His dad was there. His dad attends his games. He sits courtside. He's a loving father to his young daughter. And many people are getting on him for the incident with the weapon, putting it on Instagram. But I would say that he has been put in a very unenviable position. I would say almost an unwinnable position. He is in a city, Memphis, that glorifies Young Dolph, a city that loves Glorilla, and a city that has Moneybagg Yo and is a hotbed for rap. The cardinal sin that he cannot commit in his city is to be Russell Wilson. He cannot be the star of that team in that city being Russell Wilson. And it speaks to the pathology that I referred to earlier that a lot of young kids have to deal with. How do you deal with that pathology? So what do you do if you're a young star and you're looking for social acceptance in a town that is rap heavy, with rappers who are rapping about things that are not the most positive things to do? You start mimicking those things in the headlines. You start doing things that will give you quote unquote street cred. And the logic is flawed. It's certainly flawed, but I can understand from a certain point of view, if you are a young person and the worst thing that you fear is, I don't want to be seen as corny. These are the kind of things that you do. And so when we talk about the culture and how the culture is just, it doesn't have a positive effect on young people who are trying to find identity, there's not much left to do except find a way to separate yourself and your young children from it. If you look at his father pretty much did everything the right way. And all it took was him to be in a position where he wants to be socially seen as accepted. And to be socially seen as acceptable, he has to mimic the behavior of the city he is in. And Memphis is not a great city to be doing that in. There's a lot of stuff going on in Memphis that's not very positive and very dangerous. And to be a star and mimic that behavior is very unfortunate, very unfortunate. But it's one of the problems with the way our culture works, because it pulls people down. It pulls our best and brightest, even the ones who have no intention of getting involved, just the desire to be accepted. I want to be seen as cool. I don't want to be seen as lame. That will get you pulled down into that. And when you start seeing guys that are making decisions to take their future elsewhere, and specifically their children or future children elsewhere, this is the kind of stuff they're thinking about, because I can assure you that is something I was thinking about. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.